one thing I was impressed with was how Yannick Sinner dealt publicly with the defeat on the court in the interview and the speech that the runners up have to give when they've got their platter for their dining table at home. He didn't really say too much. He was just very giving credit where credit's due to Alcaraz, thanking all the team and organization and everything. But quite a classy response, I thought, given that he would be going through a very emotional moment there.
It was so classy, and I think it just shows again how resilient he's become over this last year. Everything he's been through is that he is able to keep a very level head in those moments because that's not what we saw yesterday on court. I think we probably forgave what we witnessed from Sabalenka yesterday on court because she was so visibly upset in that moment that she didn't feel like she played her best. But I mean, Yannick Sinner had match points, 3 consecutive match points. He'd played for 5.5 hours. And the first thing he said was still, congratulations, you deserve it, to Carlos Alcaraz, which was more than Sabalenka could muster. And then in press, something that happened afterwards. I don't know if you saw this, Kim, but Sabalenka volunteered not only that she kind of thought that it wasn't a case that, I'll give you the quote so I'm not misquoting. She said, I don't know. I have the statistics. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes. If you look from the outside, from kind of easy balls. And then she actually went on to say, after saying it was probably the worst performance she's had in the last 2 months, that if Iga had beaten her the other day, I think she'd come out today and get the win. So she went quite far with these comments about the fact that not only did she not think that she played well, and I have sympathy for that because she did make 70 unforced errors. So I think we all knew she didn't play well. That's a colossal number. But I don't think that you have to kind of go into that detail and say, I think someone who I beat the other day would have beaten the player I played in the final because it's completely unnecessary. And for me personally, I think it's disrespectful to the player that you've lost to, not in one Grand Slam final. She's lost to her multiple times in Grand Slam finals. So I think taking credit away from someone in that moment, it's not a good look. And I think she could learn something from Yannick Sinner.
Definitely a case of sour grapes, I thought, reading those
Yeah,
comments.
I know it's surprising because I always think back to when Sabalenka was caught on a camera backstage slamming her racket after. I think, Chris, we spoke before recording. Was that the US Open final?
Yeah, it was the final against Coco 2023.
Against Coco Guaff. And to me, that was like the perfect way of kind of letting out your anger and your frustration. And it was quite interesting because, that was a little backstage peek for the fans. But to go from that to kind of doubling down on your kind of performance and sort of shading your opponent who's, ultimately come out with the victory. I think, it was disappointing because we've seen Sabalenka, I think, respond to these moments better in the past. And I was hoping she would kind of continue that form up.
She has since gone on to social media, though, hasn't she, to kind of correct herself, I would say. And I'm sure that's because there was a bit of outcry and complaints, I'm sure, from the general public. So she has, in her statement on social media, I won't read it all out. Listeners, go and have a look. But she did say both things can be true. I didn't play my best, and Coco stepped up and played with poise and purpose. She earned that title. Respect. Time to rest, learn, and come back stronger. So, yeah, her PR team have probably said
wrote
to
that
her,
for her. It feels like
let's just pop this out there.
Take the phone away from her. Yeah,
calm it down a bit.
That's what one person said, that she committed 70 unforced errors on the court and then a couple more in the press room afterwards.
That's a great way of explaining it.
And it does feel like that, doesn't it? But I mean, Coco, classy as ever in her response to all of this. She said that she thought the way that Aryna was playing the last few weeks, she was the favourite to win, and that she's actually the best player that you could play in that final, being the number one. So she thinks she got the hardest matchup. So I think that's quite interesting in a way of looking at it and saying it would have been tough either way against Iga, but she thinks she would have had a good shot, and she really believed that she could do it no matter what. But she did say that she felt that Aryna was playing so good through this tournament. And she focused on the strength of Sabalenka and the fact that Sabalenka had played so well in this tournament. And I think it's fine for Coco to focus on that because she's not going to say, no, Sabalenka did play really badly, because that's not a classy response. But then at the same time, I think you don't necessarily have there's an entitlement around thinking that because you're number one and you are the best player in the world by ranking, that you should therefore be given the final. I don't really like it. And I think that's where hopefully...
Do you think that's where that frustration was born from?
I think it was, she didn't, did she play well? No, she didn't. Did she play as well as she had in the tournament? No. But at the same time, you don't have to spell that out in that way. I think you can look at the reasons why you didn't, and she could reflect more on the fact that she did say in press mentally she lost it. And I think if you're able to reflect in that way, then maybe the mentality needs to shift. And that would also mean there'd be a shift in how you'd respond to things after the defeat, during the match, because we didn't see, Yannick and Alcaraz having big outbursts despite huge disappointments, even when they were playing well and the stress was getting to them. So I think she needs to do some work in that area. And hopefully the statement was written by her and that she's reached out to Coco Guaff personally to say, I didn't mean anything by that and everything can be fine and they can move on. But we thought we'd cover it because it's been a big story. And I do think that the way that Yannick responded actually just showed that you can do it in a really, really classy way. And it doesn't have to be, well, as Kim said, it doesn't be sour grapes, does it?
No, I think Sabalenka might want to quote Roland Keating or go and listen to some of his music because perhaps, when he said, you say it best when you say nothing at all.
Some people say that about this podcast, Kim, don't they?